Pre-ordering consoles is one of the most nerve-wracking experiences I think any gamer, any player of games, I don't like the term gamer that much, any player of games, any gaming enthusiast will ever have to go through. It is nerve-wracking. It takes planning. It takes commitment. It takes persistence. The idea of giving up should never cross your mind. And the anxiety that one feels. Am I going to get one? You start feeling that anxiety well before even the day of the actual pre-order. Mine started the day that they announced pre-orders initially, and when the original pre-order date was April 9th. I was relieved when they delayed it. I was relieved because I knew then I didn't have to deal with it right then and there. So I took it just one day at a time. With the relief that, no, there's nothing that I can do about this right now. I don't have to pre-order it. I don't have to go through all this anxiety right now. But then they ended up announcing pre-orders for April 24th. And then my heart rate from that announcement to April 23rd at 9 p.m., I think skyrocketed. The anxiety I felt. Not just the anxiety, but the dread of having to deal with it. I don't want to deal with this kind of stuff. I don't want to deal with these feelings. I don't want to deal with getting a video game console. Like, when you think about it and you look back on it, it just seems so absurd that we put so much importance on these things. But we do. Why is it important that I get one on the launch day? It's not important. I'll survive. I'll wake up the next day and I'll be just fine. I might be a little disappointed, but it's the FOMO. And I am positive that if all my friends jumped off a bridge, I would most definitely jump off a bridge. And jump off a bridge I did. "8:30 yesterday evening, I sat at my computer. Over the course of the day, I made sure everything was perfect. I made sure my credit cards were all correct because I've had some fraud issues on a couple of my credit cards. So I just wanted to make sure that the new cards were both in Best Buy and Target. I wanted to make sure that my address was correct. I just wanted to make sure everything was perfect. So when the time came, I didn't have to think or do anything other than just press pre-order, pay, check out, whatever. And then that be done. But nothing is ever that easy. As much preparation as I put into getting these things done, it's not just about me getting them. It also requires... What's going on? It also requires the retailer to do their part. And I don't think they did a very good job this time. But retailers and the internet have never really ever done a great job. I will say, and I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just table that for now. So at 8:30, I just do last looks, check all my stuff, just to make sure. Pop on Delicious Dungeon because I haven't seen the whole series yet. I had to restart it because I forgot what it was about. Watched a couple of YouTube videos. And then it was coming on go time, 9 o'clock. I tried to keep my heart rate low. I tried to be relaxed, take deep breaths. And I start pressing refresh. I had Target on one side, I had Best Buy on the other, and I was just refreshing those pages back and forth. And there was a part of me, there was a nagging thing in my brain that was saying, what if you can't pre-order from the actual product page? What if you have to click a link like on the home page or some stupid thing like that, just so that they can fool scalpers and bots? So I pushed refresh. 9:01 happens. And then up pops Target, sold out. And I'm like, that cannot be. There's no way Target had sold out of Switch 2s in 1 minute. And this is what takes persistence. Never believe anything anyone tells you on the internet. And this is one of those things you have to always keep in mind. Do not believe what is shown on any product page when you're doing a console pre-order. Or any pre-order. Because the likelihood is that it is wrong. And I didn't believe it. So I'm pushing refresh on Best Buy. Nothing. Still says coming soon. I'm like, should this be up by now? 12 Eastern. It is 9 o'clock Pacific. Shouldn't it be up by now? And then the horrible thought was, what if they're staggering them? What if they're doing East Coast, then Midwest, then West Coast, and they just decided not to tell anybody? Yeah, it starts 12 Eastern, but then would still be 12 a.m. Pacific. And I thought, I don't want to stay up for another 3 hours. I don't have that in me. I wake up early, very early in the morning, and thank goodness that I had these days off, that they just naturally landed on my days off. And I thought, no, there's no way that they would do that. That would take too much processing power, and retailers can barely get their websites to work just on at one time zone, let alone trying to stagger the release of pre-orders. Like, that's crazy. There's no way they would do that. And so I continued to press refresh, nothing. Finally on Target, I pressed refresh and I was able to pre-order. And I thought, great, I can wrap this up in no time at all. I added it to my cart. And then I get this weird thing at the top left of my checkout screen that says something is wrong. And it's complaining about my, I don't know, the CVV or the CCV or whatever that little 3-digit number is on the back of your credit card. So I put that credit card number in. And then not only that, but it had me also re-enter my address. All that was already in my account, but it had me re-enter my address. It didn't save anything. And the keyboard that I have, I'm not really great with it. For some reason, I thought I'd like this keyboard. And honestly, yeah, it has its moments, but the travel is just, I don't even know. I'm not very accurate with it. But I don't really type a lot in anything anyway, so it's a pretty keyboard. I'm okay with it. And so I'm struggling typing in my address. I get it all correct. And then I go to check out. It goes through. And then I get a text message from my bank. Declined. And here's the thing. And this is so aggravating because this was a credit card that I even checked on my credit card. I was like, is my credit card locked? Because I lock my credit cards now. My credit card was unlocked. I made sure. And I even in the back of my mind, I was thinking, maybe I should call my bank and tell them, hey, I'm going to be making some pretty big purchases right now. Like, let me just lay it out for you. Switch 2 pre-orders are happening, and I'm going to be making a large purchase. But the most that they would probably do is just put a note in my file and wouldn't be able to do anything. And then their computers would just have flagged my purchase as a fraudulent charge. And that's what they did. They flagged it as a fraudulent charge. This was a card that I did have fraud on. I've had fraud on 2 of my cards. The banks have been great about it. I have no complaints. They reversed those charges. They dealt with it very quickly and easily, and I loved them for it. But it's because of those things that have happened to me is what now has prevented me from actually completing a transaction for a Switch 2 at Target. Luckily, it was still in my cart. I changed out my credit card to a different credit card this time. And I should say, I hate the Target website. I don't ever want to buy anything on the Target website. I think it just seems so rinky-dink. I don't know what it is about that website. It's designed terribly. It makes, I don't know. It just is so cluttered and messy. And, most retail websites are that way. So, but there's just something about Target that just does not feel like it is. It feels like it's just held together by Scotch tape. So I was able to change out my credit card. And then I press pay. And it just kind of hangs there for a while. And then it doesn't actually go through. What it does is it just kind of refreshes the page, but then shows me that there's an error somewhere on the page. And then there is no error showing anywhere on the page. Like there's nothing for me to correct. My heart is freaking racing here, Target, and this is what you're doing to me because you don't have the correct technology for it. I'm trying to, it's just bringing about, I almost didn't want to record this video, but because it's a very triggering experience. And so I continued to refresh Best Buy. Nothing from Best Buy. Just a coming soon. Nothing. And so I'm continuing to push pay because I think, okay, maybe something's going to happen. But there continues to be that error at the top left of the checkout page that something is wrong, that something needs to be corrected. But I look at everything. And everything is correct. There is no reason why this should not go through, other than that Target just can't figure out their lives. So I continue to refresh. Best Buy, and it isn't until 9:30, which I almost just gave up on Best Buy. I thought they must be sold out. Oh yeah, no, that's what ended up happening. I went to the app on my phone, and the app on the phone said they had sold out, which was a complete lie. They didn't even go live until 9:30, but before 9:30 it said that they had sold out. So I almost just gave up on that one. But let me tell you, persistence matters, because I continued to press refresh on my computer and they did go live at 9:30. And then I pushed pre-order, and then I was in line at 9:30. I was in line to buy a Nintendo Switch 2 at 9:30. Here's the thing about Best Buy. A few months ago, I bought a Disney gift card from Best Buy. Went through the same system. It's a high demand product because there was a discount for a Disney gift card. Yes, they are apparently in high demand. And I was put into the virtual queue. And I was able to get a Disney gift card. My mom did the same thing, but she got a little greedy and she tried to do it 2 times. And then she was able to do it 2 times. And then she tried to do it a 3rd time. And you know what Best Buy did? They canceled all 3 of the transactions. I was not going to make that same mistake. I was going to do it once, but then I was thinking, well, let me just check and see if I can do it on my phone too. So I did it on my phone. I was like, I can't do this. No, I'm just going to get out of line and I'm going to focus just on my computer. So I just let that one sit, and I just let it sit and let it sit. It said it would take a few minutes or maybe longer depending upon the demand of the product. Okay. All the while I'm still trying to buy on Target. And then I'm even like backing out of Target. It's still in my cart. Great. Still trying to go through the payment process again. Still getting that same error message in the top left corner of the screen. Really aggravated about Target. I'm waiting in line at Best Buy. And then I'm like, you know what? I finally downloaded Twitter or X on my phone, because I was going to log in and see Wario64 does a great job of kind of keeping things updated. It's like the place to go is Walmart right now. So I went over to walmart.com. And this was well past Walmart starting their pre-order process. And I had very little hope anyways, but I was somehow able to get into line in order to acquire a Switch 2 there, if need be. And then I'm still waiting on Best Buy. And then finally, I'm just like, I'm tired of the Target experience. I don't even care. So I abandoned Target. I thought, you know what? I did it a couple of more times, and then I think it just ended up, once I backed out once, it just moved it to my saved item list. And then I was like, I'm just done with Target. Target is such a, I know there's a lot of people who had success on Target. I have really never had any success with Target. I think their system is completely outdated. If you ask me, like, they're doing it from like 19 or 2006 or something back in the olden days. Or when was the PS4? Yeah, 2019. Back when we were pre-ordering PS5s and Xbox Series X's. It's like they didn't evolve at all. They didn't look at the market and say, you know what, we need to figure out something here. I just don't think they figured it out. I could be wrong. They could have some back end thing that I just am not aware of. But from my perspective, they... No. Anyways, it wasn't until 10/18, and I only know that because I got a text message. 10/18 is when Best Buy finally got to my turn, and I was able to secure a Switch 2, and I am so thankful. And I was still in line at Walmart. Now, let me be very clear. I'm not a scalper. I'm not a reseller. If I was able to somehow, some way acquire multiple Switch 2s, the likelihood is that I would have probably either sold them to a friend at cost or just returned it to the store. Like, I'm not here to make money on consoles. The only reason why I would have purchased multiple ones is so that I would just keep the one that came first. The one that came the earliest is the one that I would keep, and the other one would go back to the store or be sold to a friend at cost. Or to anyone who just didn't get one and wanted one really badly. So the relief of me getting one at Best Buy was wonderful. And I was still in line at Walmart. Until Walmart has this really cool thing. Same thing as Best Buy. You're put into this virtual queue. They'll let you know, like, you can continue to shop on walmart.com while you're in line. Like, it's a pretty cool thing if it works. And the thing is it didn't work. Partly because at one point it just kind of disappeared and didn't let me know that there was none available for me. It just stopped. There was no like, we're sorry to tell you that we had sold out. No, it was just like, it's just there was like a little graphic in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. It just wasn't there anymore. So I abandoned Walmart, even though they said that they had 7 of one and 3 of the other. Whatever. And Walmart also had a lot of issues, technical issues with their website. And I would say kudos to Best Buy. From start to finish, my experience, they never went down. Aside from them starting 30 minutes later, which was perfectly fine with me, if it enabled me to have a much better experience, because there's a couple of reasons I could think of why they would do that. First would be that, like, you tell people at 9 o'clock you're going to have pre-orders, and you start getting kind of server load information, and then based on that, you can adjust your server load to include as many refreshes as all these nerds are doing on their server. And then when the time comes for them to open up the pre-orders, you have a pretty stable website. So that's one reason why I would think they would delay the pre-orders. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Another reason is just to kind of screw with scalpers. But the system they have, I think the virtual queue, that verifies account information. I think that was a great way of doing it. And I had a lot of faith going in that because of that way of doing it from my experience with Disney gift cards, I felt confident that I was probably going to get it at Best Buy. And if they can continue to do it that way, I probably will always try and pre-order from Best Buy, first and foremost. So I didn't get to bed until about 11 o'clock. That, for people who know me, is about 4 hours after my bedtime. Anyways, today, April 24th, pre-orders begin at GameStop at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. What a nightmare. That it was a clown show over at GameStop. It was so bad, the entire site had gone completely down at 8 o'clock, probably even before then. I just popped on a couple of minutes before 8 because I kind of did some math and I was already sitting at my computer thinking, you know what? Because I was going to upload some Division 2 videos. And like immediately, site goes down. I thought, oh, shoot, maybe it's just not liking my VPN, because I had a VPN, which, let me tell you, I turned off my VPN for the purchase of the pre-orders of my Switch, but I turned it back on, and I thought, okay, maybe it's just hating my VPN. So I turned off my VPN, still like site down. I could not get that site to load, and it would load like part of it, and then it would go down again, and then, man, I was on that site. I don't even know why I was doing this, because I didn't really want to buy one from GameStop anyways. This is just such a skeevy company that I just don't want to give them any business. And I don't even know what my end goal was here, because I don't think I was going to buy one anyways. I just wanted to feel the experience, knowing that it was risk-free and anxiety-free. But so, like, I was just loading the pages, and I'm part of the problem. I understand. I know everyone's yelling at the screen. You shouldn't have been on the site. You should not have added to the load of the site, because there were people. Yeah, I get it. But I was curious. It's like, I'm human. Okay. I wanted to know what it was like. And it's okay to be human in this moment. But that site, it would say like, it would show like ISP is good, Cloudflare is good, or whatever the company that they're using. GameStop.com error. It's just so comical to see. And so then I was thinking, hold on a second. What if I just changed the location of my VPN to be in various parts of the US? So I did one to Newark, New Jersey. Newark, New Jersey? Newark? That's in New Jersey, right? I don't know. It said that it was a New York server. So I went over to the New York server, wherever that ended up being in that region. And then nothing, like you just couldn't, it had the same problem. The servers there were still the same. And then I went to Kansas City. And here's the thing about Kansas City. I thought, Midwest City, maybe we might get something out of that one. And guess what? We did get something out of that one. So here's the funny thing about that. What happened, I did a couple of refreshes, site was down, and then finally it popped up showing not available. And it was vacillating between not available and pre-order on all the site, like on my West Coast site, and even on the New York site. But this time in Kansas City, it did something interesting. It did not available, but it was a red button that was clickable, and you could add it to your cart. Even though the button said not available, you could still add it to the cart and you could still make the purchase. So I added it to my cart, and I thought, do I do this? Do I just buy it? I shouldn't buy it. And I didn't want to buy it, and I wasn't going to, partly because it was showing that I had to pay sales tax, and I wasn't about to do that. That was number one. And number two, The logistical problems of that, like, I don't know what would happen if I bought it off my Kansas City VPN server, and whether or not I would even be able to get it. Like, would they even ship it? I just wasn't going to risk $500 when I didn't need to. So I thought that was a fun little experiment. And so then I just kind of abandoned it and went off. And then I went to, my VPN is set to Seattle normally. And so even Seattle, I was able to get a not available highlighted, being able to click it. And this I did on my phone, click it and then get into it. But it would also have me pay sales tax, which I wasn't going to do. And not only that, but for some reason I had put in and I don't know why, but all the links on GameStop's website linked to the one without Mario Kart World, which I thought was an interesting choice. Needless to say, this was an experience and one that I am not eager to go through again. I'm glad these things happen only once every 8 to 10 years. In this case, this happened to me in 2019, 2020? I don't remember. So 5 years ago. So once maybe every 5 years. I don't want to do this again. I'm just glad it's over. I'm glad I was able to get one. We still have Nintendo's pre-order process coming up on May 8th, which I'll be curious to see if I get an invitation to purchase one there. If so, I probably will, because I don't know. Just to ensure that maybe I get one on launch day. Because I'm still not 100% guaranteed I'm going to get it on launch day from Best Buy, because I'm having it delivered versus picking it up in the store. Listen, I'm not waiting in line anymore for these things. I'm done with that. I'm in my mid-40s. I'm not standing out with a bunch of nerds anymore waiting to pick up a piece of electronic equipment. Like, it's just not in my DNA. I'm not in my 20s. I'm not in my early 30s. They reached a point after the Wii launch, I said, never again. Never again am I waiting in line for a console. Never again. But that was to purchase the console, and that wasn't to pick up a pre-order. But never again. So, this is very cathartic. I needed this. I needed to, like, get this out. I needed to talk about it. I needed to just kind of, like, decompress, because it was still like, I was still feeling that little anxiety. And I almost wasn't going to do it because I'm so exhausted. I only got 4 hours of sleep, but I'm glad I got this all done. Okay, well, thank you so much. If you are so inclined, if you have the capacity to like, comment, and subscribe, obviously that'd be nice. No pressure. I'm not doing this. I'm doing this for me and not necessarily for an audience. But I'm glad you're getting something out of it. Anyways, thank you so much. I'll see you later. Bye.